Shalom, shalom, sister Deborah, prophetess in the wilderness. And you know what? That's all right with me, coming again on this Deborah platform with another message. And I will say that this is a lovely day in which the Most High, a higher has made. And I, sister Deborah, shall and I will rest therein. Just coming again this morning, this early morning with a short message. You know, I realized something so deep and so powerful, and you pretty much overlook a lot of it because you know that it has no beginning, no end to it. It's just nonstop ignorance amongst the people, and that has been going on for thousands of years, even to today, the year 2022. You have men and women who follow behind the knowledge of man, and they believe that it is something awesome, that and something great and something wonderful to be awoken or awake or enlightened in who they are. All that they're coming to the knowledge of is how ugly their flesh is. When you say you are awakening, you have awakened yourself, okay, into stupidity, because all you know is who you are. A lot of people chasing their history. When you finish chasing, going here and going here and there, to and fro, chasing your flesh history, what have you done for your spirit? Your spirit is now anorexium and your flesh is obese. So what are you chasing now? You see, they don't understand. It's not about being awoke or awakened if you only that in the flesh. Awaking and woke, you have to first be in the spirit so it can take you to the true understanding in the flesh. Let me say that again. To be awakened and woke in the flesh, you got to be awakened and awoke in the spirit that takes you to the true awakening in the flesh. And what they're doing is they're chasing history. They're chasing all the wisdom and knowledge of the world of who they are, and have forsaken the spirit. It's, to me, I see it as anorexium in the spirit and obese in the flesh. That's the way they rumble it. And they care less that they're dying in the spirit. As long as they are getting all the information of who they are in the flesh, that's all they want. That's all they desire. That's all they have locked and manipulated and deceived many in the flesh. And okay, let's do the history of the flesh. Okay? Let's do the history of the flesh. And where I'm going to go is strictly spirit and truth. Okay? Okay? Before the flesh was brought forth, what were you? Let's say, where were you? You were known in the heavens. And then after being known in the heavens, what were you afterwards? You was given his image in the spirit, which is a spirit. Then after that, you was given his breath to bring forth the flesh to life. So the flesh is the third area, really the third of who you really are. It's not the first nor the second. So why are you focused on that flesh that's going to end up nowhere but back to the ground in which it comes? So that's your history of your flesh. That's what you're teaching people. The part that dies. So when I'm saying you're teaching people flesh, you're teaching people your history. You're chasing your history. You're teaching people to be awakened and woke in their flesh. But what is it? What is it to gain everything and information in your flesh and lose the one that lives eternal? That was before the flesh exists, that exists before the flesh was, and that was in the heavens before anything was, which is your spirit. How dare you? that are flesh, that dies and never return. So with Sister Deborah talking about spirit and truth, it's important that we learn that. And the only reason why I'm telling you about it is because I was taught that as a little girl, that something took place before heaven and earth was created. And with that holds all power. And because it took place before the heavens and earth was created, then it came and it decided to be spoken. And when it was spoken, it decided to use its power to bring it all forth. And then when the power brought it all forth, it began to explain to you that he began to create that which is flesh. So why are we learning our history from flesh when there's really nothing to know about our history? If we get detached to the spirit realm, then the spirit would teach us our history. What do you mean, Sister Deborah? He said he would send that the Ruach would come and it would teach us all things. He come to teach us things in the spirit and truth, so we'll know what is existent in our flesh. But we don't want that. We want man to teach us because he's a king, he's a leader, he's a ruler. And he's teaching us all the things that dies with him. Even his messages is dead. So I sit back and I watch a lot of Hebrew Israelite men are praising the idea that they are awakening and now they woke. Look at Nick Cannon. Learned all that about his history and flipped on the Negro men like a blink of an eye. And they never brought the topic up. They so eager to get men to be awakened and awoke without having no spirit and truth to keep them in a true light. Being awakened and woke in history of your flesh, it shows you that you're still in darkness. It shows you that you have no light. It shows you that you do not see the flaming sword that was in Genesis chapter, I think it was 3. You don't see the flaming sword that shows you all the way. You can't thirst because thirsting is spirit, okay? You're thirsting for flesh, okay? So your flesh is your worstest enemy and it's wearing your tail out like you are its enemy. It don't want you to know no spirit and truth. That's why people have been on this devil platform for so long and see nothing wrong with them not teaching any spirit and truth. First of all, there is something wrong. You don't have the Ruach HaKodesh like you think, like you thought, like you felt you had in the last 20 years. Because if you did, you wouldn't be teaching what you're teaching today, the things that pleases the flesh in the world, the things that stands up on the fleshly side in the world. Spiritual side, you can't lose. It'll hold that flesh up. It will hold that flesh up. So let's see. Here is Sister Deborah, if she's awakening in her flesh, okay? And I'm awakening, okay? What if the spirit was sniffed out of me and from me? The flesh is going to fall down. Where is his history then? It's still resting in the spirit. So it's best to know about the spirit than the flesh. So people, the Hebrew Israelite got it, what many would call today ass backwards, because they went in it idling and worshiping man's wisdom, man's understanding, man's knowledge, man's interpretation, man's feelings, man's personal opinion, and their emotions, because that's what really brought and triggered all this Hebrew Israelite movement and awakening. But it was another trap of Satan, because in the midst of your awakening, you're more ignorant today than you were when you started or before you were in your awakening, because you didn't wake up to nothing but what was flesh. You never woke up to anything that was spirit and truth. That's saying that the Ruach HaKodesh never sat with you and abide in you and taught you. Because if he had, you would know now that this thing is spirit and it is true. And I got it from the what did they call it? The back end instead of the front end. The front end is spirit and truth. The back end, it's wicked and evil and the flesh. You don't get it the righteous way. So Sister Deborah, would say this here. It's a sad thing that we run around here and think everything in our flesh is more important than anything in our spirit. And he already told us our flesh is our worst enemy. We don't care. We want the flesh to tell us to do this, to do this, to do this, to do this. Or it's all the way the flesh of man said that it is. It's all the ways the flesh of woman said that it is. But where the problem comes in is you're anorexium in the spirit, and you're dying in the spirit, and you are obese in the flesh. And that's why you see people not even caring about anything. Even, I'm going to give you another example. Our women that got their whole body out of the improper weight, health, they can't pretty much do very much of anything. Because they decided that it was better for them to get as big as they could possibly get. Because getting overweighted was booming. And men, their own nation of men was telling them that's what they wanted. Women perform based on what their Negro men want. And what do the Negro men want with them now? What are they doing? And what are they saying about them? They're calling them whores and everything you can think of. They're giving them all kind of bad names and hatred toward them. And see, after you went out here, put all your weave on, okay, put your eyelashes to bed at them, gain weight, add it back in, add boobs, all the things, and gain out excessive weight on your body. And then realize your flesh is your worst enemy. You can't nourish your flesh like that because you're nourishing wicked and evil in your flesh. Anything take place, you wouldn't be able to move. Why? Because your weight wouldn't allow your ankles nor your knees to stand. Because people don't understand everything that's on your body flops when you start to hit a certain age. If you don't stay in the gym to keep it up. So no matter what you got up, it's going down quicker than you think. When you want it to remain up, it's going to be floating down sooner than you think. Because the whole ideal is focusing on your flesh to get a man to like who you are. And they don't care. They behind that. They messing with men now. They messing with little babies. And they calling them virgins. Because they think that the Bible done told them it's okay to enter into these babies. That's what he said happened in the days of Noah. No man would teach that thing the proper way. They blame it on the fallen angels. They don't even know who the fallen angels is. And that's a sad thing. That's why I say they are awakening. When it comes down to having the right information in spirit and truth, they don't have it. They have the right information in the flesh that can manipulate you to believe that they have spirit and truth. I mean, they don't say they have spirit and truth. That they have the truth, and they don't. All they have is what's in the flesh. They flesh understanding, they flesh wisdom, they flesh knowledge, okay? They flesh interpretation, they fleshly emotions, they fleshly feelings, they fleshly opinion. And that's what they're living on. So this is how ignorant men and women are today to believe that they have awakened and they are woke now just to know that they are slaves. They are knowing. Do you see what midnight hour we are in and they're talking about they know this now? Okay, now that you know that, what's next? That's what leads you to go kill each other more. That's what leads you to have a perpetual hate towards your black women and your children. Is that what caused our children to hate and have a beef with one another? Is this what's going on and they killing each other? So you awaken, but what have you awoke to? Stupidity, ignorance of the flesh. You have only opened your eyes to something in your flesh that means nothing. Even your history means nothing. It dies with you. Where you going to take your history? So what is it? You have to go back to spirit and truth. Get the information through the Ruach HaKodesh, first of all, that rests in spirit and truth. Because if you sitting around waiting for these, I call Negroes, to teach you something in the light, you can hang it up. They can only prepare for you the things in the darkness, and that is your grave. So I, Sister Deborah, say, wake up. See the flaming sword. You want to be woke? See the flaming sword. See the light. See the direction of the narrow gate. See who a higher is in the light. Because you're walking in a pitch midnight darkness. So I, Sister Deborah, say I will be back later. And shalom and shalom.